And for more on how the geopolitical shift is affecting the Israeli economy, we're joined now by Matthew Brodsky. He's a senior fellow at the Security Studies Group. He's also a contributor to the National Review and the Jerusalem Post. Hi there, Matthew.
Hey, good to be with you.
So first of all, what was your reaction to the violence today and the moving of an opening of the embassy?
I think the embassy move is long overdue. Congress has said that it wanted to do it since 1985. It really shouldn't be much of a story because the place where the embassy is now currently in Jerusalem is actually in pre-1967 Jerusalem. In other words, West Jerusalem that has been always Israeli, there's no Palestinian claim on that specific parcel of land. So to actually say that there shouldn't be an embassy there is basically to say that Israel should have no claim to even Western Jerusalem, which has historically been its own. Now, as for the Gaza violence, I think that that's a horrible humanitarian mess, and it's unfortunately brought on by Hamas that has been planning this as protest. They call it the Gaza Return March. The return actually means the return of their 5 million or so refugees to Israel, which is a move that's designed to destroy the state of Israel. But their actions also really show that they're kind of using their population as cannon fodder. It would be much better if they were to use these type of funds to actually improve the living conditions of Palestinians rather than build terror tunnels and things of the like.
So we've got this line right there on the border. We're talking a matter of miles. How is Israel still able to attract investment when it is so close and in the midst of so much chaos?
Right, it's incredible the amount of stability that they've had, and there's several reasons. Number one, the greatest thing that ever happened to Israel since its founding was that they didn't realize they had any oil or gas reserves until very recently. They were forced to use their brains and to be technologically astute. By being in the army, of course, all the time, it's a compulsory service for most in the country. So when you're in the army and you serve at a young age, it is technology to begin with, and that has really helped out when it comes to starting companies. That, and they've always been attracted to exports because they can't just get away with selling to themselves. And the internet's it's something that does not require a huge amount of space, something that a few people can get together, use their brains, and then put out. It's kind of designed for an Israeli type of place.
So while you've had investment in technology, there has been a lack of it in education, healthcare, infrastructure, transportation. Why is that?
Because it's like any country, it's difficult and it's hard to stick with how it's going. You have to understand, Israel basically started as a more of a socialist type of country. It was everyone pooling the money so that the government could use it. It's become a lot more capitalistic of a society, more open. And I know how going to Tel Aviv, you always think to yourself, this is really like a much more of a modern city. We should have subways in this, but this takes time. And I agree with education. This is also a problem that they face. But I think that, when it comes to stability, when it comes to the debt ratio there's just so much attractive about it that shows that it can weather almost every storm, and they faced almost every storm.
You've got 20% of the population, Arabs, Palestinians, living in Israel, yet they're living below the Israeli poverty line. Why is that?
Again, this gets back to the tech industry again, when it comes to education levels. For instance, they don't have to serve in the Israeli military, so they're already starting off at a disadvantage. Those that do are at an advantage. Now, at the same time, we also have to pay attention to the religious right in Israel, who basically spend their time without having to go into military service, but they're in religious study. And this is, the more Orthodox people they live below the poverty line as well. So those that are electing not to take advantage of what's there in front of them, it doesn't work out as well.
So it sounds like what you're saying is that until a peace plan is reached, a solution, there will be problems economically for the Palestinians especially.
Yes, but to put a divide between those that live under Palestinian government, whether it's Fatah in the West Bank or Gaza under Hamas, very much different than the Arab citizens who are Israeli living inside of what others would say is Israel proper. Yeah, it's a dividing line.
All righty. Well, Matthew Brodsky, we certainly appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us.